Coming up, all the sights to look forward to at AirVenture next week.
We fly along with a helicopter pilot patrolling the skies over D.C.
Plus, take a look at a new crop of air taxi concepts.
And a drone takes the long hop across the big pond. AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment.
Build and fly with the Sonex Aircraft B models. The B models offer more room and comfort, more fuel, more panel space, more engine choices, and the same great Sonex Aircraft flight characteristics. Learn more at sonexaircraft.com.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haynes and Melissa Redinger.
Well, we're about to head to Oshkosh. President Trump is about to board Air Force One for his golf resort in New Jersey.
And that means trouble. Trouble if you don't read the NOTAM and pay attention to the TFR.
Sadly, some 30 pilots violated the airspace over the course of his last 2 visits. And at least 5 of those pilots got to see some fighter jets or military helicopters up close and personal. And this won't be the only weekend with a TFR around Bedminster, New Jersey. Secret Service says there will be more presidential weekend retreats to New Jersey through September. As we like to say, and so we do, check NOTAMs every time before you fly.
One of the agencies responsible for patrolling our airspace is Customs and Border Protection. Like so many other organizations, they're in need of pilots to fly their aircraft. AOPA Live's Josh Cochran has the story about what it's like to be a helicopter pilot for CBP.
For Will Suggs, flying an A-Star over D.C. for Customs and Border Protection is a rewarding career.
I enjoy giving something back to the people that we're keeping safe. It's about serving those people and protecting America.
Will is part of CBP's Air and Marine operations. The goal of Air and Marine is to protect the border and assist other law enforcement.
We spend a lot of our time putting some of the worst people that you can ever imagine behind bars.
Flying past the monuments, the mission in D.C. gives Will a perspective on the city few others have.
We routinely do flights that are associated with patrolling important infrastructure around D.C. area.
To patrol, the CBP helicopters are equipped with high-tech cameras.
We could provide an extra set of eyes to provide officer safety and also give a different perspective for investigative groups when they're trying to build cases on criminal elements.
CBP also helps with humanitarian missions, like bringing food and water to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria.
So we ended up with 8 Blackhawks in Puerto Rico supporting FEMA's interest in doing damage assessment, but also providing immediate food aid for people in remote areas that needed food, water.
And CBP is looking for pilots.
We're looking for people that can operate independently when required, that are good at making decisions, that can work well with a team. We're looking for the types of people that are interested in doing something beyond just flying.
For Will, who came from the Navy flying F-14s, flying for CBP gives him something new to look forward to every day.
If you're looking for something that's meaningful and has a sense of duty, then Air Marine Operations is a good place. It's a fun job. It's an enjoyable job. It's all the things that I wanted in flying, plus I get to hang out with a great group of people.
Josh Cochran, AOPA Live.
You can find all the career opportunities with Customs and Border Protection at the USA Jobs website.
And CBP is working to make life easier for pilots flying across the U.S.-Mexico border. Operators who have an overflight exemption, meaning they don't have to stop at an airport with customs right across the border, will now have a much easier time getting approval to take advantage of their exemption. The change comes as AOPA is continuing to work with CBP to help make border crossings for GA pilots easier.
We will continue to work. This is an incremental step. It doesn't help everybody, but
right.
We continue to work with
Right.
CBP closely to try and make the process make sense and make it easier to comply.
Yeah, I read some of the documents on this, and finally there's at least an acknowledgement that there is not standards for what pilots are supposed to do when they get to one of these airports. Some places you stay in the airplane, some places you take your stuff in, and it was very confusing for pilots. So at least they acknowledge that now, and they're trying to figure out a solution.
Yes.
Which doesn't seem like it should be that hard, but that's another
that's
story.
the bureaucracy. I could bend your ear all day on that, but suffice to say, we'll keep working.
All right, thank you for that.
And here's something that's hard to believe: 2 opposing political parties working together to improve general aviation. But it's half a world away from the U.S. in Australia.
We're very thankful for the support of the Deputy Prime Minister as well as the opposition party leader, both working together, have promised in order to revitalize GA. They understand the importance of it, and we're very, very happy that they are getting involved and we're in attendance.
Craig Spence represented AOPA US and the International Council of Aircraft Owners and Pilots Associations at a summit meeting of some 30 general aviation groups in Australia. They're looking to revitalize GA down under. GA that's suffering from over-regulation and restrictions that have driven down flying by some 40% since the mid-90s. Now, there's a bipartisan agreement for legislation to ease some of those restrictions.
Talking about the general aviation industry and the FAA regulations, many in Australia would like to just replicate the FAA regulations. They are much easier to understand and comprehend and don't put that much of a regulatory burden on the industry.
So good news down under, I suppose.
It is. You know, it's really nice to see the Australian pilots getting together, forming a coalition, and really approaching the government in a proactive kind of way. For so long, they have just been under the gun down there from an over-regulation standpoint. And I've talked to a lot of pilots down there, and it's just really terrible situation they're in. It's really a burden. So nice to see them together, working together, and that the government is at least receptive to making some changes that may help in the long term.
And I think another lesson learned is they're working together. There's lots of different factions of pilot groups down there, and they're finally all working together.
Yeah,
so that's
that is
good news.
And Europe is another part of the world where GA suffers from over-regulation and high cost. As we've mentioned before, one of U.S. AOPA's top advocacy initiatives is fighting egregious FBO fees that plague pilots landing at some airports around the country. In Europe, the problem with excessive fees is even worse, and now pilots in Europe are fighting to do something about it. They're starting a grassroots funding campaign to start a legal fight against the excessive fees. The campaign is backed by AOPA Greece. So again, another place that I've flown over there too, at Thessaloniki and other parts of Greece, Santorini, and boy, the fees are just eye-opening. It's unbelievable.
Yes, that's one of the few countries I've flown in as well, and the fees and the restrictions.
Right, a lot of restrictions, and then it's privatized air traffic control, which again we managed to fend off here, but what happened in those circumstances, as happened in a lot of other places where they went to privatize air traffic control, is they also privatized the airport operations, turned them over to a contractor that is very profit motivated, and the government no longer thinks it has any obligation to fund these facilities that really serve all of the public, and therefore they have to put in these crazy airport fees in order to recover the costs. And it's just a bad situation all the way around. So hopefully, once again, pilots working together in Greece, like in Australia, can make a difference.
Yeah, hopefully. Last week, we told you that the FAA is still trying to reduce the number of runway incursions. Now the agency has released a new runway safety simulator, an online program to help students and pilots become more familiar with the airport environment and air traffic control instructions. There are multiple scenarios of increasing difficulty. And if you make the wrong taxi decision, you'll hear about it.
November 7241 Kilo, road ground, runway 5, taxi via Delta, Romeo, hold short, runway 36 right. Cherokee 41 Kilo, stop, hold short of runway 36 right.
You can find the Runway Safety Pilot Simulator at the URL there on your screen.
One small step for drones, one giant leap for drone kind. An historic first for unmanned aerial systems last week. A General Atomics Sky Guardian flew from Grand Forks in North Dakota across the Atlantic and landed at the Royal Air Force Base in Gloucestershire, UK. The flight took just a little over 24 hours.
Coming up after the break, a glimpse into the future of flight.
Big news for B-29 Doc, and looking forward to Oshkosh.
You always knew it was your perfect airplane. Now it can have the perfect panel. Garmin G500 TXI and Garmin G600 TXI, the next generation of flight displays.
Welcome back. Norwegian startup Equator Aircraft flew the Excursion down the runway for the first time last week. The amphib is a hybrid. A Wankel engine drives a generator to power the electric motor turning the prop. The company is looking for beta builders and is trying to raise funds through crowdsourcing. Google co-founder Larry Page really seems to be enamored with personal flying machines. He's the money behind the Kitty Hawk Flyer. Now another one he's helped fund has suddenly appeared, the Black Fly. Opener, a Northern California startup, is building it. It's amphibious, doesn't require a pilot's license, and they claim it's safe with redundant motors, batteries, and flight control systems. Opener says that the Blackfly will cost about the same as an SUV when it's in full production, and more companies are jumping into the eVTOL arena. Rolls-Royce trotted out its concept for an electric vertical takeoff and landing machine at the Farnborough Air Show, another hybrid design using a turbine to generate electricity. Rolls says its machine could be flying by the early 2020s. And while that Rolls-Royce isn't the one that makes luxury cars, Aston Martin does, and it too is getting into the business. This is Aston Martin's concept, the Volante. A bit smaller than the Rolls-Royce, it would have room for 3. Another hybrid design, and Rolls is designing the power plant. And we'll get a chance to see a third hybrid design fly in person next week. The Surefly will fly during the air show at EAA AirVenture at Oshkosh in Wisconsin. It's a 2-seat eVTOL that is designed to fly 70 miles at 70 miles per hour. AirVenture is just a few days away. It starts on Monday.
There will be a new forum at AirVenture to dream about the future of aviation. The Lindbergh Innovation Forum will host a variety of speakers to talk about the future of eVTOLs, drones, autonomous planes, and more. There will be speakers from Uber Elevate, Boeing, and several startup companies. The forum will take place on Tuesday at the EAA Aviation Gateway Park.
And while there's always a lot of new innovation in Oshkosh, the old warbirds really draw a crowd. This year, B-29 Doc will once again grace the warbird ramp at Oshkosh after making its appearance there last year. Doc is one of only 2 airworthy B-29 Super Fortresses. Doc will be coming to the show following exciting news that passenger flights are now approved. The first rides on Doc will be offered this weekend in Madison, Wisconsin.
AirVenture is always a highlight of the year for many pilots, and 2018 looks to be just as exciting. AOPA Live's Paul Harrop has a look at more of what you can expect this year.
From the air show to the friends to the food, AirVenture is just plain cool, and it's all coming together.
Airplanes coming in. The North 40 here is kind of bare at the moment, but by Sunday it'll be almost packed.
Right now, the last-minute touches are being put on by an army of volunteers. Some have been working since Memorial Day. Chris Marshall has been out there volunteering since June 30th.
The activity that's going on here that's perked up since last Wednesday, which is when the third wave of volunteers comes through, is just amazing how every single day more and more gets done, more things get crossed off the list.
Iconic Warbirds Plaza won't be empty for long, and neither will this tent. The AOPA campus has been improved this year. We'll have a little bit different of a layout and a lot more features.
Pilot Workshops is sponsoring the AOPA Desktop Flight Simulation Experience. It'll be an opportunity for you to dig a little deeper into how desktop flight simulators can improve your piloting skills and help you with your currency and so forth.
We have, count 'em, 4 airplanes on display at the AOPA campus, including your Sweepstakes Super Cub. On the topic of tailwheels, there's a STOL demonstration Monday, Thursday, and Friday. You'll see some of the best pilots showing off stick and rudder skills like this. Speaking of showing off, there's an air show every day. Kyle Franklin is bringing us Franklin's Flying Circus, but he's not rolling up in a clown car.
I fly Monday, Tuesday, and Sunday. Monday I'll be flying the new Kit Fox Speedster, which I debuted here at Oshkosh last year. Dracula is my high-performance aerobatic airplane. It's basically, we took the design characteristic of 3 different airplanes. The 1940 Waco UPF-7, a GB Sportster, and a Pitts biplane. We took the best things of all 3 airplanes, combined it into one airplane.
And boy, does Dracula put on a show. For Kyle, though, AirVenture is like a big family reunion.
I look forward to Oshkosh every year. There's nothing else like it.
And across the field at Camp Scholler, Chris couldn't agree more.
Oh, the famous phrase is, the planes bring you, but it's the people that bring you back.
A lot of preps underway. It's shaping up to be a terrific week. The weather, knock on wood, is currently forecast to have highs in the upper 70s and low 80s and overnight lows in the 60s with only a slight chance of rain. But hey, there is a lot to see. This year, it's the year of the tanker. The Air Force Reserve is bringing several of the flying gas stations for you to see. Also on hand is going to be an A-10 Warthog. On the civilian side, the Yak 110, which we've reported on, will be there. Plus, it took decades to build, but Bally's bomber is ready for prime time. It's a 1/3 scale B-17 replica. It flew in a few days ago, and it will be there for you to see. And if that lineup does not excite you, you might want to check your pulse. Paul Harrop, AOPA Live. Melissa?
Thanks, Paul. Looks exciting. Don't forget 2 AOPA pilot town halls with ice cream at 1 p.m. on Wednesday and coffee and donuts at 8 a.m. on Friday. AOPA Live will bring you coverage from AirVenture next week. We will have 3 shows from Oshkosh. Look for them Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
It's a good time by all. That's going to do it for us this week. Hope to see many of you in person at Oshkosh. Stop by our exhibit on the flight line near the Brown Arch.
But in case we don't see you, feel free to let us know what you think about the show by sending us an email at aopalive@aopa.org. And thanks for watching.
Here at You Can Fly, our sole mission is to get people flying and keep them flying. Each of our 4 initiatives is designed to reach pilots at a critical point in their journey.
Please don't let general aviation fade away. Support the AOPA Foundation and the You Can Fly program.